The shiitake is an edible mushroom native to East Asia, which is now cultivated and consumed globally. It grows on decaying wood of deciduous trees and is valued for both its nutritional and medicinal properties. Shiitake is used in different systems of traditional medicine and is a good source of key vitamins and minerals. Throughout the Hindu Kush Himalaya region, shiitake cultivation provides an opportunity to diversify and boost incomes and to add value to byproducts of forestry management. It creates a productive use for trees of small diameter or low quality that are thinned out from forests and offers relatively short-term returns. Shiitake cultivation does not require much space, making it a good fit for small landholders. We will now walk you through the process of shiitake farming, which is usually divided into 4 stages: obtaining logs and seeds, seeding logs, incubation, and lastly fruiting and harvesting. Begin by selecting the logs, which will serve as the growth media for the shiitake. You can grow shiitake on almost any deciduous and most evergreen tree species that retain their bark for several years. Coniferous trees should be avoided. You can use both hardwood and softwood. However, hardwood logs can be used for much longer before decaying. Popular wood options in the HKS region include species of oak and chestnut, Himalayan alder, ash and walnut. The trees are best felled in the winter months of the HKS region. Freshly felled trees should be dried for at least 1 month so as to reduce their moisture content below 40%. Source your logs either from the stems of young trees or from large branches of the older trees. Cut logs that are around 100 cm long and 15 to 25 cm in diameter. Strictly avoid dead trees or those infected with rot or fungi. Use only logs with intact bark, as an intact bark is crucial to the growth of shiitake. Working with relatively straight logs is easier than with crooked ones. Logs with lot of sapwood, rather than heartwood, yield more mushrooms. If any large plants, including mosses or lichen, grow on the log, remove them gently. Take care not to damage the bark in the process. After obtaining your logs, choose a shiitake strain according to your preference and local climate. Shiitake strains differ in size, texture and agronomic characteristics, including temperature and moisture preferences. Consider growing several different strains to extend the harvest season and or to cover a larger range of growing season temperatures. You can obtain the desired strains from a local vendor. The seeds are usually mixed with sawdust and sold in packets of 300 grams, one of which will suffice for 4 to 5 logs. The next step is to seed the logs with the shiitake spawn. Drill holes in a row down the length of the log with an interval of roughly 10 cm. Use a drill bit between 13 and 16 mm in diameter and drill down about half an inch. Drill more rows at a 5 cm row-to-row interval. Offset your rows to obtain a diamond-shaped hole pattern. If the holes are too far apart, the mushroom growth will be hampered. Seed your logs right after drilling to avoid contaminating the holes. Fill the holes completely with the seeded sawdust and compact it gently with a stick. Compacting it too firmly can hinder germination. Once the log has been seeded, seal all holes with wax. You need around 1 kg of wax for 100 logs. Heat the wax until it is hot and liquid, then dab it onto the holes. The next stage is the incubation period, which in the HKS region lasts around 6 months. During this period, your main task will be to regularly water and restack the logs, while the mushroom grows within them. Start by stacking the seeded logs. Locate an appropriate site for your stack. For the cultivation technique we are demonstrating here, you need a site which is roofed, shaded and well ventilated. It should not be too humid or too dark. The ambient temperature should be between 15 to 30 degrees Celsius. The mushrooms will die if exposed to temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius or below freezing for long. Once the site is located, place the 2 longer logs on the ground which act as the foundation for the stack. The seeded logs should not be placed directly on the ground. Build a pyramid-shaped stack by placing 10 logs in the bottom layer, 9 logs in the next layer and so on. Continue in the same manner until all logs are stacked up. Once the stack is built, sprinkle it with water from all sides. Do not drench, only moisten the logs. Next, cover the stack with gunny sacks. The stack needs watering throughout the growing season. Increase the frequency of watering as time progresses. After first building the pyramid-shaped stack, wait for 1 week. Remove the gunny sack from the stacks before watering them. Then water the stack once a week until the end of the first month following stack construction. Remove the gunny sack from the stack before watering them, replacing them afterwards. During the second and third months, water the stacks 2 times a day for 2 days each week. After 3 months, increase the watering frequency to 2 times a day for 3 days each week. Thereafter, maintain this frequency until the first mushrooms start to emerge 6 to 7 months after seeding. Emerging cracks in the bark of your logs are a sign of too low humidity. Should this occur, apply water more often, but also avoid excessive watering. A constantly moist bark can lead to mold and growth of other competing fungi, resulting in premature loss of the bark and potentially drastic decreases in shiitake yields. 1 month after building your pyramid-shaped stack, it is now time to restack it for the first time. For this, use a so-called creep stack, which is a criss-cross shaped stacking pattern. Place 10 logs parallel to each other, leaving a 10 cm wide gap between them. If you struggle with excessive humidity in the stacks, increase the gap size to 20 cm. Add the second layer of the logs perpendicularly to the orientation of those underneath, creating a criss-cross pattern. Continue this pattern for the remainder of the stack. While restacking in this manner, logs from the bottom of the stacks are automatically transferred to the top and the other way around, which helps the logs retain the required moisture levels. Repeat this restacking process every month for the remainder of the growing phase. The final stage of cultivation is fruiting and harvesting. Shiitake seeded logs will naturally produce fruit by themselves without any intervention. This will, however, result in unpredictable harvest timing and yield. We therefore force the mushrooms into fruiting by submerging the logs in water. Newly seeded logs should be forced to fruit only once they are completely colonized by the shiitake. We can tell that this is the case once a log starts to fruit naturally as the first tips of the mushroom heads emerge. In the mid-hills of the HKS region, this will usually take 6 to 7 months after initially seeding the logs. To force fruit the logs, submerge them in water for 24 hours. A large container or a pond works well for this. After soaking, prop the logs against the stand or wall. The shiitake will emerge over 7 to 10 days depending on temperature and moisture levels. Harvest the shiitake when the caps are not fully yet open. 60 to 80% of the gills should be exposed and the caps still slightly enrolled. Decide when to harvest based on gill exposure rather than the size of shiitake's cap. Older looking mushrooms are still fine to harvest as long as the gills remain white. Discard mushrooms with lot of brown gills. To harvest, twist and pull mushroom stems off the log. Store the mushrooms in a well-ventilated, humid container such as a paper bag and bring them to market as quickly as possible as the quality will begin to deteriorate soon after the harvest. After harvesting, restack the logs in the crisscross pattern and let them rest for at least 6 to 8 weeks before forcing to fruit again. Do not force fruiting more than 3 times a year. A log's first year's harvest will be comparatively light. Highest yields tend to occur in years 2 and 3 and usually decline thereafter. Good quality logs can produce shiitake for up to 8 years, but they should be discarded once production falls below your expectation in terms of quality and yield. There is multiple options for upcycling discarded logs, for example, using them in a biodynamic composting system. To learn more about this system, follow the link in the video description.